Back with some geometry. I have found a few things, and they're going to validate the authenticity of a number of things. So what this is these are two octagons where the outer edge goes through the middle of each of them, and it gives you some unique a symbolism. One is the cross flags, which numerous European countries have, and so that's where that comes from. That symbolism, that symbol that you often see on many different flags of different European countries, and that was the more obvious one. And in here also is the British flag, which I've often wondered, where are those proportions from? I've yet to find anybody who actually explained that. But I believe that this is where the proportions of the Union Jack, the British flag, comes from. And it might be a little hard to see here, but you can see here that when you have those ones, when you connect these lines from those points, they give you the proportions up there. That's part of that in the Union Jack. And here on these ones, when you connect these points and those ones go through there, they give you those proportions. And you know how some of the original or the older Union Jack flags, I think they were truer to its true geometry, where this band here is wider than this one. That's why it comes from geometry. And same with the diagonals. If you connect certain lines together, you'll find that they also give you these proportions here. I didn't work them all out. I mean, maybe in the future I can validate that a little further, but I believe that's also where the symbolism of the Union Jack flag comes from. It comes from true geometry, and as well as the other cross flags. And now this is a little difficult to see. I wish I'd done that in a bit of a darker outline, but the two circles, you can just see the outline of them there. And so these lines, they run right to the edge of the circle, right there, in the overlapping circles. And how I got, well, I'll do this one first because this is the easier one. This is when you connect a line from there to there. It gives you the upper horizontal. Okay? And when you connect a point from there to there, it gives you where that intersects with the outside of the arc of that circle. And that gives you that proportion and that placement, exactly, of that horizontal. The middle, obviously, is the middle. That's the easier one. And there is where it is sometimes referred to as the Patriarchal Cross. That's where the symbol comes from actual geometry. And these are the exact proportions, as you will find in some of them. Some of them have been not true to their geometry, and they just continue to use it symbolically. But then you'll find ones that are true to authentic geometry. And there's an interesting history. It entails the Patriarchal Cross as well. I believe Hungary, in the time of King Bela III, has a relation to and it's called, in Western Europe, it was referred to as the Lorraine Cross. So there's a connection there. And so, without getting into all that kind of history and stuff like that, I just thought that's interesting as well, because this Patriarchal Cross, it has been found from very early times, Byzantine times, and early European times, and in the Eastern Orthodox, it can be found. It can be found in Western Europe as well, and Latin. Sometimes the Latin or the Catholic, you might say, also used this cross. And I know there's lots of other kind of research and speculation as to what does that mean, and like I'm like I said before, I'm not here to discuss meanings and stuff like that. I'll leave that for other people. But what I can do is I can tell you where it comes from, and it comes from actual geometry. This proves that these symbols are all authentic, and they're validated through actual geometry. And same with the numerous different flags, although they might have the British flag looks different, the cross flags look different from the British flag, and then you have the Patriarchal Cross, but then it all comes from this geometry. Incredible. And it comes from two intersecting octagons. Right, and interestingly enough, when you have two intersecting octagons like this, it gives you a third octagon right in the middle. And when you connect from the middle of that circle to the edge of where the top horizontal of the Patriarch goes, if you follow that line, it's the exact angle of the outside of an octagon. And then I thought, oh well, where's that piece there? Where can I get this proportion to give me a perfect octagon in the middle? And that proportion comes from right there. That equals that. And then you get the rest, and then you get a perfect octagon in the middle. And then you get your 8, 8, 8. There's your 3/8. And here's one more. I believe this is also where the layout of the Vatican Square, St. Peter's Square, is it called, I believe, in the Vatican, where it has the octagon in the middle? St. Peter's courtyard or something like that, right? I believe it also comes from this geometry, where you have that and you have an entrance, and you'll see there's a few buildings there if you go look at the pictures, and then it enters into the octagon, and on the other side you have the main big building, which is a part of the actual church and stuff like that, right? So I believe that also comes from actual geometry. I mean, they're not just going to do this stuff, they're not just going to make stuff up and just use an octagon just for its symbolic value. No, it actually does come from actual geometry. And and one last thing here, the Patriarchal Cross. Sometimes you'll see it this way, right? Or sometimes people call it the double cross. And nobody's ever been able to explain, where does that come from? They have all different versions and, and theories and so forth about what it means and what it was and this and who and all this kind of stuff. But it comes from geometry. Just so you know. And sometimes the version is where it's this and you just have that. And they don't have that one, right? Sometimes you get that one. That also comes from here. And also, I believe it's a Russian Eastern Orthodox version of the Patriarchal Cross. It has a little diagonal thing that goes down there somewhere near the bottom. Well, what does that mean? Oh, sorry. That's for somebody else to decide. Where does that come from? Well, that's where it comes from, right there. If you'll notice, that little angle they put, it's that exact angle. So all of these different symbols come from this geometry. And that concludes this video.